Hello and welcome back to another Rock Records Reviewed. My name's Adam and this week we're going through the doors of perception. We're going to look at the recorded output of seminal 60s West Coast rock band The Doors. The Doors were an interesting proposition, unlike most of their contemporaries who were singing about love and making the world a better place. The Doors had an altogether darker agenda, which we will explore as we do my rundown. Lead singer Jim Morrison died in 1971 in a Paris bathtub after he'd made 6 records with the band. They went on to make 2 more records without him, Full Circle and Other Voices, both of which are pretty unremarkable and frankly would easily come bottom of this list. So I'm going to leave those out and we're going to keep it a level playing field and just look at the 6 Jim Morrison records. So in 6th place, Waiting for the Sun, their 3rd album from 1968. It's a bit unfair to put this record at the bottom of any list because it's a pretty good record. It's got Hello I Love You on it, which was a kind of single they'd rushed out, which ended up getting sued by Ray Davies because it sounded too much like All Day and All of the Night. He won, by the way. It's got a lot of songs about Jim Morrison singing about girls and love. It's got My Wild Love, Summer's Almost Gone, and We Could Be So Good Together. But I think it's fake news. I don't think he could be so good with any girl. There's kind of an unsettling, eerie, uncomfortable vibe about all of these songs. And it's not helped by Ray Manzarek, the keyboard player's sort of organ fairground ride tone on his keyboard. Unknown Soldier is on here, which was a powerful song. But all in all, I don't think it's their sort of heartiest meal of a record. Number 5 is Strange Days, their 2nd album from 1967. This has got some really good songs on it. It's got Love Me Two Times, Moonlight Drive, People Are Strange, which Echo and the Bunnymen covered. It's also got some kind of preposterous stuff like Horse Latitudes. Jim Morrison reckoned himself as something as a poet, so Horse Latitudes is loads of sound effects and him bellowing into a microphone some of his ludicrous poetry. I guess some of it was all right. When the Music's Over is one of the sort of big long epics that the band liked to put on the end of their albums. Fairly kind of pompous and over the top for me, but kind of enjoyable in its way. Number 4, I've put The Soft Parade from 1969, their 4th album. A lot of Doors fans don't like this because they added an orchestra and some strings to some of the songs. I think, ironically, that gives some of these songs a bit of a lighter touch. It's got Touch Me on it, which is a Doors classic. It's got Wishful Sinful, which is a song I like very much. The big long epic at the end of this is The Soft Parade, which I really like this time because I think it seems to have a sense of humour, this album. It seems to be just a lot more kind of charm to it because The Soft Parade goes through lots of different styles. You have to listen to it because some of it's really quite amusing, the way they bounce around between everything. So yeah, I think a lighter touch, despite what a lot of other Doors fans would say, and I like this record very much. But then we move into the 3 essential Doors albums, I think. And at number 3, I'm putting Morrison Hotel from 1970, their penultimate record. By now, the sort of keyboard sounds and the whimsy had been replaced by a much more muscular blues sound. The album opens with Roadhouse Blues, which is now a blues standard and probably played 1,000 times all over the world every night in clubs and bars. I know I've done it a few times. Maggie McGill, the album closes with another really great blues song. And along the way we get great tracks like Land Ho, You Make Me Real, and also Peace Frog, which is a fabulous Doors song, a fabulous Doors deep cut, which predates that sort of acid, baggy, indie drum sound by about 20 years. It's an excellent record. Not least, the band made it in difficult circumstances. By now, Jim Morrison had been banned from concert halls all over the country for exposing himself on stage. So the Doors were working against it by this point, and they were still making really, really great music, but their reputation was suffering, and people weren't quite sure what was going to happen with the band. At number 2, I'm going to put probably the seminal Doors album, and that's their debut, The Doors, from 1967. All the elements of the band are right there straight away. It's very rare that a band sounds so fully formed straight out of the box. You've got John Densmore's jazzy drumming, you've got Robbie Krieger's Spanish guitar, Ray Manzarek's classical influences, and you can hear all of that all over the record. The chemistry between the musicians is great, and of course you've got Jim Morrison's bluesy growl over the top. The album is most famous probably for Light My Fire, which was covered by many artists and has become a bit of a standard. It's also got Break On Through on it. It's got a fabulous cover of Brecton Wheel's Alabama song. And then it closes with The End, which is Jim Morrison's exploration of the Oedipus complex. Yes, it's as kind of weird as it sounds. It was used very effectively in the film Apocalypse Now at the start. This is a great record. It's a great debut album, and I intend to do a list of great debut albums before too long, and don't be surprised to see this one in there somewhere. But at number 1, I'm going to put LA Woman. This was their last album they made 3 months before Jim Morrison died. This is a fabulous record and I like it because it's a blues album, and I really like the blues. Jim Morrison finally got his wish. I think he'd been trying to convince the guys to go back to their roots, and so you've got some fabulous blues stuff on here, like The Changeling and Been Down So Long, The Cars Hiss By My Window. Jim Morrison really sounds in his element. He's enjoying this. It's also got 3 of the Doors' absolute very finest songs. It's got the title track LA Woman, it's got Riders on the Storm and Love Her Madly. Robbie Krieger particularly is on great form on this record as well, but the real star in many ways is Jerry Sheff. Jerry Sheff was Elvis Presley's bass player who got drafted in to play bass on this album, and if you think about how funky and great and memorable the bass lines on this album, you realise what an enormous contribution he made. Listen to LA Woman, listen to Riders on the Storm, listen to The Changeling. These are songs that are absolutely driven by that bass guitar. So the Doors, by this stage, really were in a bad place. Jim Morrison had gone off the rails with his drinking. He was dabbling in all sorts of strange occult things. As I said, he'd been banned from performing. So to go out with a record this strong was no mean feat. And to this day, I think it's still regarded as the Doors' finest record, certainly by a lot of people who like the blues, and as much as I do. But all of the records are good. They're all worth investigating. The top 3 are essential if you think you're going to be a Doors fan. But that's it for my rundown today. A little bit briefer. I'll be back very soon with another instalment. If you don't agree with me, please say so in the comments below. Be nice, keep it clean. It's all just good music banter. But I'll see you again very soon for another Rock Records Reviewed. Thanks. Bye.